Okay, I'm at 209 Clapboard Ridge in Greenwich at Mrs. Miles' house. This is Grant Putnam, Putnam's Landscaping. We're about a 25-person company, and we offer a one-stop shop for whether it's maintenance or installation, design, or whatnot. I'm standing here at the front of the driveway. So first off, we want to talk about mulch. So you have the beds here at the entrance of the driveway. You got a bunch of boxwoods, which in the past haven't been trimmed. That's why they're so loosely kind of fit. And boxwoods, along with your other evergreens, for them to get your maximum quality and durability of your plants, they got to be trimmed at the right time of the year. So typically you trim these at the end of spring and beginning of fall, and that'll give you a much more dense growth habit, which will also prevent a lot of snow damage because there'll be a tighter branched shrub. So, and then also you should probably be spraying these for boxwood mites, and also you should be spraying with horticultural oil and a summer soap, which prevents a lot of your insects problems with most of your shrubs in your property. So for the small extra cost to maintain these and keep the insects awesome, you'll get a much better product and look than what they look like right now. So, but as far as mulch goes, obviously we've got all these beds, some along the right side of the property, some along the left. You might consider maybe using wood chips on some of these beds that you're really not going to see, just to keep the weeds down. So unprocessed wood chips, and then the other option is just using mulch on the entire property. You got a bunch of sucker growth on all these trees here, so these have to be trimmed. I know Mike from Summit Construction might be able to do that for you. It's got to be done at the right time of the year. You've got a bunch of deer eating a lot of your plants. That's why you see all these little clippings off your azalea. So again, as part of a monthly maintenance package, what we offer is trimming the plants, pulling the weeds, and spraying for deer. All these plants have different characteristics. They need to be trimmed at different periods of the year. And weeds, no matter what, are going to grow. And deer is a constant problem unless you keep the plants sprayed so the deer won't eat them. So monthly maintenance is what, once the growing season starts, is what usually works for most of our clients. Over here along the wall, the previous landscaper left a bunch of leaves, so you're going to have a slightly higher cost for your first year for spring cleanup, just to remove the leaves what should have been removed last year. Let's see here. For the front of the house, the landscaping's been here for a really, really long time. So those two big evergreens on either side of your walk, those are called bird's nest spruce, and those have been there for a really long time. Then you got a bunch of pachysandra, you got some juniper, Jackmonte birch, Japanese maple right there, which is going to grow about 15 feet wide. So we might be able to leave it there, but over time it might be too big for that area. The boxwood are more of a yellowish color because they're undernourished. They need more fertilizer. Then you got some yew, which is also known as taxus, in the far left corner. And you might just consider installing more boxwoods over there. Some holly right here and here on either side of the steps, which are lacking in sunlight. That's why they're not growing so dense, and they're kind of a sparse looking shrub. So you might consider over time, again, replacing those with a shrub that are more shade tolerant. Some rhododendron, Lacoste. These are Scarletta Lacoste. It's a nice little plant. So bottom line is, over time, what you might do is you might think about revamping the landscaping in the front of your house. It would make a huge difference for your curb appeal. You've got some good centerpieces that you could keep. You could save them and transplant them, reuse them. But I think with a budget-conscious installation for the front of your house, you could really get a lot more curb appeal. When you have these stumps ground, make sure you grind them all the way down to the grass level. So that means when you're grinding these stumps, you're not just grinding the stump, you're literally grinding almost in this situation like a 6 by 6 foot area. So you get the grade all looking like the lawn was already here. Okay, because if not, they're going to leave a big mound for you, which I'm sure you're not going to be happy for. So just make sure you communicate that. And I would have them grind it about 6 inches below the grade. Let's see here. As far as lawn care, you want to make sure that whoever is doing the lawn care has a pesticide license with the state and is an expert on that. So that's the one service that we farm out to another very reputable company. We'll put the cost within our quote, so you'll still only be calling us if there's any questions. But that's something that you want to be really careful on who you're using to be able to maximize the results and make sure it's safe. They're not putting down the wrong chemicals. And you can even do an organic program if you want versus a synthetic program, but you won't get as good of results. So, to be honest with you, I'd still go with the synthetic. Over here, these are all roses, so you can tell the previous landscaper didn't know what they were doing as far as maintaining them. Same thing with those hydrangea. You got to trim them in a certain way where you're still getting the flowers. And all these shrubs, including the rhododendrons up there, have to be trimmed in a certain way that you actually still get the flowers and you're not damaging the plant. And you can see by looking at these beds, it hasn't been mulched in a couple of years. So my recommendation this year is probably to put down about 2 to 3 inches. And every year after that, about 1 to 2 inches, because that's about how fast the mulch decomposes. The mulch cost up front in the spring is a decent sized bill, but it's actually cheaper to install the mulch every year at a very small rate than it is to have to weed all the time throughout that year. It's cheaper to put the mulch down than it is to weed it. So it's very much recommended to make sure that you mulch the property every year to replenish what's decomposed from the previous year. So this hedge, you could probably again trim this hedge over here. I think that would look nice. You got more taxus, or also known as yew, on this side of the house, which is fine. These are all Niagara arborvitaes, dark American arborvitaes. You can see there's deer damage on these as well. So these really have to get sprayed. If you have a deer fence around the whole property, though, that's going to solve a lot of that problem. Then you got Rose of Sharon, roses. This is an Andromeda. A lot of different types of perennials in here. Same thing, maintenance is going to be key. That's whoever you hire, you got to make sure that you're protecting your investment, your plants here. Then you got a little Stewartia tree. That's what that is, right? That's a Stewartia tree, which should really be moved because that's going to grow way too big for that area over time. The earlier you can move it, the better, because it'll be a lot easier to transplant. And you're probably going to find when all these perennials grow this spring that it's way too packed with plants in here. There's way too many plants, and in that case, you're probably going to want to have your landscaper who knows plants be able to identify them and reorganize them and transplant them so you get the best value out of the plants you already have in the property. So even this bed back here, again, you're probably going to want to rethink it and organize it so you get a much nicer look than what's here now. Another bird's nest spruce. It's been here for a really long time. Some more hydrangeas and pachysandra. Let's see here. These are all red twig and yellow twig dogwoods, which should be really trimmed back, way, way back. Unless you like the fact that there's a screen, which is actually, the more you think about it, maybe you trim them a little bit back so they don't look so wily, but you probably do want that screen there. to block out that house in the background. And again, this is all mulched areas that should get mulched. It'll save you a lot of money versus having to weed it. These are mugo pines, these two. And that's it for lawn care. Basically, for grass cutting, once a week usually does the trick. And for your lawn, I would say you could probably just just disperse the clippings. If you want to vacuum the clippings, you could. It's just, it costs more money. I don't think you necessarily need to do that. And as far as irrigation, we do that as well. So when I send you the quote, again, I'll send you a comprehensive quote so you're not having to call 5 different companies when you're dealing with an issue. You're calling one communication channel, and we're very responsive, so we'll make sure we get back to you right away. I'm going to resend the quote now that I can actually see everything in your yard before there was all snow. So I'll resend the quote, and we'll go from there. Thanks a lot.